Join me as I handcraft my version of the Kephart Bushcraft knife, a classic blade for the outdoorsman. So today I'm starting off with a piece of 1095. I have already profiled the Kephart design on this piece of steel. The blade currently in its current profile is approximately 6 inches of cutting blade. The customer has requested this particular Kephart model to have a 4.5 inch blade. We currently have a 4.5 inch handle. And so I'm going to trim this down with an angle grinder to get the profile that the customer is looking for. So I've got the 4.5 inch blade profiled out on this using a 60 grit belt sander. And the next step is I'm going to put in our holes for mounting hardware. I'm going to put 3. The customer's requested copper rivet pins on walnut. And so I'm going to go ahead and prep, measure, and drill our 3 holes. So I've marked our 3 locations. Now I'm going to use a tool here to put in a pilot hole. Our copper rivets are 5/32 of an inch. So I'm going to use a 5/32 drill bit to put our holes in our handle. And I've put a drop of 3-in-1 multi-purpose oil to not overheat our drill bit. Now that we've completed our 3 holes, I also expanded our lanyard hole by using a 1/4 inch drill bit. Originally, it was set at 3/16 of an inch. We're now going to take this over and stamp our maker's mark and begin our bevel. All right, so now that we've got our profile grinded out, it's time to go ahead and heat treat it. So this is what our blade looks like straight out of the forge. I'm going to do a hardness test using our Japanese hardness files. I'm going to start off with HRC 45. Skates right across. Next I'll pick up file 50. Skates across. HRC 55. Skates across. HRC 60. Starting to bite down. HRC 65. Definitely biting down. So we've got a blade that is somewhere between HRC 55 and HRC 60. That's a good hardness level for 1095. Now I'm going to sand our blade to start finishing it up. So now that I've got it at the finish, the grit finish that I'm looking for, I just clean the residue off using acetone so that I can move on to my next step, where I'm going to force my custom patina onto the blade to protect the steel from corrosion. So I've got my saltwater solution, and I have my low voltage transformer hooked up to my dabber, and then an alligator clip. And so the salt water solution combined with the electricity allows me to force a patina onto carbon steel. And this particular blade, I'm going to go with a super dark patina. It'll almost look like a complete finish on it, a black finish. Now that I've finished got a nice dark patina, and so now I'll just brush it down with some steel wool. It'll give it a real nice even sheen. So I think I may do just one more pass just to darken this side. Came out just a tad bit lighter. So I'll do another pass to darken it up. Then move on to getting our scales put on. The customer's elected for walnut scales, and I'm going to add an extra touch and put in some black liners. So we'll go ahead and proceed with getting these mounted. So I'm first going to add the liner. I want to make sure I've got coverage all around. Yep, looks good. Go ahead and mount the opposite side. So our mounting hardware consists of copper rivets. These are used on saddles. You can find them at Tractor Supply and other locations online. In order to place these, you've got to countersink each hole so that the head sets in. And I'll do the same thing with the opposite side for the burr, so that the burr sits down into our countersunk hole. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm using a 15-30-second drill bit. And so I basically freehand this with the drill press, and I don't know if you can see if I can zoom in, but I stop when there's just a tiny little lip, a little bevel on the edge, and that's more or less how I know when to stop. That tiny lip is what is going to allow the rivet to set in so that it's flush with our handles, our scales, and we don't destroy them right away when we put this on the belt sander. One thing you want to be very careful of is splitting your scales. It's happened to me before, so I try to squeeze on the wood just to give it a little bit more strength. Because we are coming out the other side. Great, nice and flush. So we'll do the opposite side. Put our burr on. We got a little burr tool here. There we go. There's no cutting required. This is a 3/4 inch rivet. So now all I need to do is peen the head of the rivet and it'll be mounted. So after mounting our scales with our copper rivets, I took the knife over to the belt sander outside. It's getting a little dark. Didn't shoot that particular portion or segment of sanding down these scales, but this is the result after just cutting off all the excess wood using the belt sander and then getting the profile to where now we have to hand sand. Alright, so one of the last details to do on this build is I'm going to put a brass hollow rod into our lanyard hole. Just going to do this gently. Again, we don't want our scales to split, so I'm trying to put some pressure on the wood to help stabilize it. So I'll cut the excess off and then sand the rest. So I'm going to grab my Dremel tool. Now I'm going to sand Now that the scales are completed, I'm going to go ahead and apply a boiled linseed oil finish to preserve and protect our scales, and to also bring out the beauty in the wood grain. All right, and here's our knife. I still have to put the edge on, make the sheath, get our lanyard on, but we've made progress here. And make our sheath. Okay, we're going to check it for fit. I did wet the sheath so I can wet mold it. So it's a little moist right now. I'm just pressing down right around the finger guard, the ricasso area along the spine of the blade, just to form fit the sheath. A little bit of resistance, but just kind of wiggle the knife around. It should take it in and out a couple times while it's wet. Everything should stretch out and conform to the shape of the knife. There we go. I'm going to make a custom ferro rod for the customer, since his sheath does have a ferro rod holder. And I'm just making it out of a section of dowel. All right, and I just took a 5/16 drill bit, put it right in the center. Okay, to make and complete this ferro rod, I'm just going to take my 5/16 ferro rod and then the ferro rod holder that I made out of this dowel, and I'm just going to put some super glue. And so it's pretty strong. And so this ferro rod does have a hole, and I put enough glue in there so that the hole goes through the hole and is going to help bind and retain the holder onto the ferro rod. So you just need a little hammer. I'm going to take it over to the belt grinder and shape this little handle here. And here's the completed ferro rod. I just took this to the belt sander and rotated it along the slack of the belt sander, and then I came back and drilled a hole there for a lanyard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dark stain so it matches our walnut. Here I'm using EcoFlow oil dye in dark brown. We've got it to darken up a bit. Alright, so here's a completed knife. If you like this knife and this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I appreciate all my fan support. Thank you for watching El Paso Knives.